Hello, welcome to our first Friday at the Fab Lab for March. I am super excited to have Brandy Jackson here with me today from Scoutlier, and we're going to be talking about their great platform and some other terrific ways to help make experiential learning more accessible and give people better ways to learn and better resources for curriculum and all that stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Brandy, and we'll get the show on the road here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Terry. I've always been so impressed with the work you're doing there at Amrock and the capacity that you build there. And I see just so many ways that we can really work together in that. My name is Brandy Jackson. I have been an educator in the public school system for 21 years. About 5 years ago, I just started seeing a change in classroom behavior, a change in my students' ability to use technology effectively. And there was a really big push to start putting more technology in the classroom. And although I loved how hands-on it was, I started really tracking how do we do this? Like, how are we bringing all these programs into our school? And I was concerned about student privacy. How are these programs protecting students' privacy? So I got a really great opportunity to work with some engineers out of MIT, and we talked about what it meant to give kids experiential learning opportunities, how we can make that happen, and how we can really find those outliers, which is where our name comes from. Scoutlier means scouting for the outliers. And so together, me with some engineers out of MIT and some scientists out of Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute put together this lesson design and learning platform and got the Office of Naval Research to really do the majority of the funding to get it up and running and bring it to teachers and families and community members that are really active in getting kids doing hands-on learning like what you're doing there. So I'm super excited to be here today and to talk with you and your viewers about how we can make life a little bit easier for you as you're bringing hands-on opportunities to students.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been excited about it, since we chatted and I got to meet you in person over at Synapse recently. And I think people hear about content management systems and all of that, and there's a lot of different ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about what sets Scoutlier apart or how it integrates with the existing
Yeah, absolutely.
platforms out there?
For sure. So when we talk about how students learn and how you manage all that virtually, there's a lot of kind of jargon words that people hear. Number one is a learning management system. A learning management system is kind of the programs that colleges and high schools and middle schools now, due to COVID, use so that teachers can communicate back and forth with students and parents and host some of their lessons there and give them grades. The problem is these, although we call them learning management systems, are not really designed to really work with the way a younger person learns. A younger person needs activities that are broken down into steps. So we use universal design for learning in all of our products. And we take any content that you're trying to get students to do, we break it down into tasks and then into steps. And students accomplish those steps by, in one application, being able to take pictures, take video, short answers, multiple choice, even entering information in a data table, all in one application. So all the instructional material is there, plus all the processes students need to do. What we find is, especially for younger kids in middle school and high school range, their executive functioning. Executive functioning is how our brain processes what we're supposed to do. Their executive functioning is not to the level where you can use an adult learning management system effectively. And so there's a lot of anxiety there. And so students can begin to use the stress level that they just have naturally when they're trying to learn something new, and they can waste it on trying to get technology to work instead of actually putting it towards learning something new. So when we built Scoutlier, we worked with learning scientists to specifically design something for a child's brain and how to build that lesson out there. And then we began working with industry leaders to make sure not only did it cover content that schools need to cover, but that it covers content that businesses and industry and government need students to have. So when they're coming out of our K-12 systems, they have the ability to actually do things physically with their hands. Not that they can just take a test and score a good score, but they can actually like process something and make something of their own. So that's why we built Scoutlier. That's why it's very different from what exists on the market. And it's really exciting because due to federal funding, we're actually able to give it away to teachers 100% free.
That's a big part that jumps out at me. Yeah.
100% free. And I'll happily do a little demo so you can kind of see it and ask questions about it. But yeah, it's free for educators to use. So I'm going to, if that's okay with you, I'm going to actually share my screen.
I'm going to throw the link on the chat too for folks.
Beautiful. Okay, share my screen. There we go. Share. And let me know if you see.
Here we go.
What do you see? Say my screen.
Got it up there.
Beautiful. So when you go to scoutlier.com, it's going to ask you to sign up for an email account. And you need to make sure it's a real email account because we'll send you a validation email. We want to make sure that anyone that's using this platform is a real person. We protect you against robot, spam programs. But once you're in here, this particular program is designed to allow students to learn face-to-face, virtually, and hybrid. Because as students work through activities, it gives you step-by-step data on what they're doing here in the dashboard, which is really cool because you can actually see how students are progressing through their activities. The teacher has, they can create assignments. It is ridiculous how fast it is. If you can type a document, you can create a lesson. And you can create as many lessons as you want and save them in your workspace. So for the past 3 years, I've been teaching robotics at Hillsborough County Public School, at Eisenhower Middle School, Go Generals. And these are some of the activities that I've done with my particular students. You'll see I have a lot of activities that we have done in my classroom doing hands-on learning. And what I love about it is anything that exists, we can literally, within 3 seconds, put it directly into the learning management system that we have going on here in Hillsborough County and so many others. We're currently running a pilot, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're running a 3D printing pilot here in Hillsborough County, where we delivered 3D printers to the schools, helped get them all set up, put into the schools, and then provided curriculum to them. So these are the activities that exist. There's doing 3D printed houses, building movable parts, an introduction to the 3D printing, and then we have activities actually sponsored by the Navy. So these are all the things that live in my workspace. These are my lessons for my students. But here in the community library are lessons that teachers from all over the world share with teachers for free. There's really great resources on the internet like Teachers Pay Teachers, which is great because teachers should totally be recognized for the effort that they do. But these activities are free. So if you see an activity that you really want, for example, I know you guys do FIRST Robotics. So if you want to do FIRST Robotics and you were a new coach and hadn't done it before, you go to the community library, search robotics, you find you're like, oh, I want this. And maybe you're just now getting robotics started. It's your first year doing robotics at Brand High School that's Lego League. So you click it, say okay, 1, 2, 3. All of the resources are downloaded and they're yours. 100% free. You can host your own free practice rounds. So like, when you've got teams coming in at AMROC, you can have these posted and actually have them show what they're doing so you can track stuff for their engineering notebook. And notice here.
That's a nice plus. Yeah.
Right? It will gather the data for them over time. So here's all the pictures for their attachments. Does it qualify? Which challenges does your program attempt? You've got have them actually video their recording. And the cool thing is it videos inside Scoutlier and saves the data inside Scoutlier. So you don't have video and pictures like floating around on the open internet because it saves inside of this very, very secure database, which is So great for students. And when you're ready to send it to students, if you're a teacher and you have Google Classroom or you set up a Scoutlier classroom, you can push this button, it'll push there. Or if you're like Amrock Studios and you've got students doing drop-in work, this is what you're going to love, Terry. Watch this. I'm going to click share the assignment code. Yes, share. And now you can post this link anywhere.
Wow.
Think of it, right? Like, so you can post it in the room, just like go to Scoutlier, type in this code and do this activity.
Yeah.
Really great for like, 3D printing programs, coding programs, anything, because it will lead them through those activities.
All right. And we're actually even exploring it for our entrepreneurship program as we're working through things like doing your business model canvas and, budgets and sample budgets and things like that. That's really, really nice. I like that.
Oh, for sure. When you talked about the entrepreneurship program you're doing, that is very similar to programs we are doing. We call them rapid innovation.
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about that. Yeah.
So we just finished up a grant with the Navy. So the rapid innovation folder just got deployed literally about 30 minutes ago. Right now, all of our rapid innovation is still in expert content. We're going to make a copy and move it over to rapid innovation later today. But what these are, this is so cool. The Naval Postgraduate School sponsored rapid innovation challenges for anyone in the world to take a chance to actually study what naval scientists are studying. For example, this one is one of my favorites, and I would love to see like an AMROC team compete at this. Any teams that compete at this, even if you're with a nonprofit, not a school, there's prize funding. And if your team is the one that wins, your school or the nonprofit you're involved with can win prizes up to $1,000 funded by Naval Postgraduate School and by Raytheon.
That's nice. We definitely want to do more of those types of challenges, and being able to do challenges and document them like that is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And these challenges, they're only designed to last about a week. Sure. They're not like your traditional year-long program that you would do with FIRST Robotics or VEX Robotics. It's really to give kids the opportunities to explore lots of different areas in STEM. Yeah. This one is, I'm just going to show it to you for a second. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see what it looks like. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but.
So how many of your parents have replaced their vacuum cleaner with a Roomba? No longer do they have to walk to each room of the house.
So what's cool with these is these lessons, instead of being taught by a teacher or, someone that's not actively working in that industry, rapid innovation challenges are taught by the actual people working in that industry. Huh. And they act as the teacher instead of a teacher moving it through.
Right.
So
that's really awesome. I like that.
Yeah. So, and it can be anybody. It can be, these are done by the Navy. Last year we had ones done by Raytheon. Mm-hmm. We're hoping this year that we're going to move into a couple other branches of the military and even some companies here out of Tampa. But what's cool about this is, look, they're teaching about biofouling. He's teaching about energy efficiency. He breaks the engineering design process down step by step, moving them through all these activities. And so by the end, the students actually know what biofouling is. They've thought about how can we use robots to clean the bottom of ships. They've kind of ideated what it would look like to build that. And then they create their pitch. Just like if you were an actual entrepreneur, they learn how to do a pitch. And this pitch is what they turn in as their solutions.
I really like the way it breaks it down. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it is just, it's really exciting to see these activities up and running. These programs are available from now until June 20th. So we're hoping that, homeschool groups and after school programs and school systems will pick them up and try them out and let us know what worked, what didn't work, so that we can best support hands-on learning in our classrooms, because we just know that we're not having as much hands-on learning as we have been having for quite a while.
Yeah, and I really like the way this integrates the online platforms with the experiential learning.
It's very hands-on.
Right. Yeah, there's just so many different things on there. So, in addition to the rapid innovation, I know you've done some other things on here as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of like your early programs with this as well? I
Yeah.
see
So
First at Home on there. Yeah.
yeah. So when we very first started, we were funded by the Office of Naval Research to do a rapid innovation around robotics and cameras. And so we had done that one. And then COVID happened right in the middle of this grant, right in the middle of this grant. So then we couldn't finish it like we wanted to. So we contacted the Navy and said, teachers are in trouble. It was not great when COVID shut down, and how we were going to do instructional design that was, still quality, but didn't cause extra stress for kids. And so I was lucky enough to meet Libby Simpson as when I was working at Hillsborough, and she was the new educational director there at First, and they developed First at Home. So we talked to them, and we helped them build out all their curriculum around First at Home. This is, although it says First Robotics, it's not actually robotics. This is just straight engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Then we talked a lot about how kids were struggling with anxiety and really some basic life skills. So we worked with a program out of New Orleans called 4.0 Schools, and we built out an entire social emotional learning program, which is so important when we talk to kids about, how they're feeling and how it impacts their ability to learn and their relationships and teamwork, which is such a big part of robotics and any type of engineering, having all of that team portion in here. So we got a grant to build this out, and it's another free curriculum that exists for anyone to use. It's one that I'm really proud of. I worked really hard on that one with the team here at Hillsborough because it's part of a 6th grade program they do. Another thing that we do is we really work with vendors. As you can see behind me, I collect STEM stuff. I test out all of the different technologies that get invented and really look and see, are these a value add for the classroom? And so what we've started doing is actually partnering with vendors. One of our first big partners was Eduporium. They are a reseller and distributor of STEM products in Massachusetts, which is where I lived most recently before I moved here to Tampa. And we helped them develop full curriculum with professional development built in and projects. It has all of the video, everything built in so that a teacher could get makey-makeys so that even if they had no idea what a makey-makey was or how it worked, they could buy one and begin teaching with it tomorrow. Which is, as a STEM teacher, that's important because we get all these supplies in the classroom and we don't know how to use them.
Right.
So we want to support teachers doing that as well.
And I also like the idea of being able to take some of these things, like if you're doing First, for example, if you're in First Tech Challenge, right, there's a whole bunch of materials, and it's on the First website in the resource page, but you have to go to like lots of different places to get this stuff, right? So you might have to go over to get your on-bot Java stuff through GitHub, but if you can link to those things from Scoutlier or,
oh, for sure.
And now you're just sending people to this one spot each time to do everything, and it's all there.
So you're mentioning that
so much easier.
So one of the things, we try to get kids to actually understand the vocabulary around EV3 parts. And so one of my favorite lessons is, let's just build a strong base, understanding why you have to do that. And so what's cool in here, if you see these little blue things, what that means, if you can watch up top on my screen, I'm going to close a couple of things there. When I click a link, it will open that resource, but I never actually leave Scoutlier.
Okay.
So see how easy it is to move back and forth? And then like if I want to put in an instructional video, and it can be anything that lives on the internet can come in as an instructional resource.
That's
in AMROC, I really think about all the mentors you have and the collective knowledge that is sitting in these adult mentors' brains, and how with this, now we have a way that we can put that knowledge in a place that it can really get.
And we have explored platforms for this, because there are some Fab Lab managers, and there's different types of open source things that people have put out there, which are, they all do slightly different things.
Yep.
But being able to bring and we've looked at, Canvas and some of the things that are used by the teaching systems, but being able to sort of bring in all the things that are out there in an easily accessible format, and for the people that we work with to be able to bring in and share. Like when we do the entrepreneurship program, I'm going to go back to that, because we've actually, that's the one where all of our mentors bring their shared knowledge to bear on the programs, working with early stage entrepreneurs. And they'll come with, personal and business finance education, right, with their own slide deck. And then we also provide like companion materials next to that for resources for them, right? How do you get a business model Canvas template or things like that? But being able just to have all of our stuff in one place, and all of our mentors to be able to use it and to share their information, and then to be able to reuse or remix that content is really, really nice.
Exactly, because when you pull something down from the community library or the expert library, it's editable. So let's say you had a mentor last time doing your entrepreneurship program, and they shot a little introductory video of like, hey, I am Edward and I run a solar company and this is what I do. Well, for his class, he wants the video of him talking.
Right.
Well, when your next mentor comes in, he doesn't want to show Edward's video. He wants to show She wants to show her video.
Yeah.
So now she's like, hey, I'm Robin and I own Renew Construction, and it's a video of her.
Right.
And so you can tailor these products so that you get the same high quality content every time. You know that your students are getting the same material in the right order, so that they're building those skills, but you're able to still personalize it for whoever your mentor is. And I'm working with I mentioned Robin Donaldson. If you don't know her, everybody, you need to.
She's a rock star. Yeah,
she's a rock star, and she runs this amazing program in the summer called STEM Exposure. She has got some of the coolest people working with her. Like,
and a cool field, really great field.
Yeah. She has Gladys West coming and talking to her students about how they invented GPS. And that's awesome. But, it's not like Gladys West is young. At some point, stuff's going to happen. Yeah. So this year, we're actually going to be recording these sessions so that we have it for posterity and we can continue these lessons for years to come.
And I like that. And you can actually reach into the library too, right? And cross program and find some of these things and integrate them into other lessons and other programs.
Oh yeah. That's what we do for everything. People always ask us like, well, so the program's free for teachers. I'm like, yep. The program is free for teachers. Yes, it is. The program is free for students. The program is free for families. And I'm like, well, how do you make money?
Yeah.
Well, we do a lot of grant writing. Recently, we won the Catalyze Grant, which is a huge feather on our hat. The Catalyze Grant its first year was last year, and it's from the Sam Walton Foundation. And they were looking for innovative programs that are making a difference in underserved youth. We're trying to really push diversity, equitability, inclusion, so that everyone has the ability to find a really high quality career as they move forward, as they get older and older. And so we won a Catalyze Ignite grant here for Tampa, Florida. Yeah. And so kind of what I'm hoping that this will do is help find some industry partners that want to partner on these.
Right.
What we're doing is highlighting great businesses here in Tampa that are looking to grow a skilled workforce, right? And just interviewing.
I can think of several right off the bat. Right? We're going to have more conversations.
To just have them give them a platform, because that's what we do. We have an amazing team of instructional designers from all over the world that we interview a founder or like someone that works in a company, doesn't have to be the founder, that talks about, this is the tech skills that I do in my job on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. These are the things that are really exciting to me, the innovations we're pushing. And then when they're done talking about what they do in their job and where they came from and how they got their job, then they just tell the kids, hey, your challenge is to do this. So a challenge we're working on right now, we're developing it with the Catalyze Grant, and several people that we met at Synapse is having students come up with a mobile health solution. Yeah. Maybe kids are going to come up with like a new type of healthcare bus. Maybe they're going to come up with like a better backpack for first aid. We don't know what the kids are going to come up with, but we know that they're going to have the opportunity to learn from healthcare leaders right here in Tampa and have them actively involved learning from mentors about how they can, there's great career fields for them in healthcare.
No, that's brilliant. And we have a series we had started up that we're going to be rebooting this year. After we're actually in a lot of transitional things over here as we're getting ready to move. We're moving across the hall. We don't want to scare anybody. We tell people we're moving. We're just moving across the hall from our current location. But we have a series we started called All the Colors, and where our students interview people from diverse backgrounds across diverse fields, to try to, show people what everybody can do, right? And one of the things we wanted to have was a content library to go along with those interviews. So, for instance, we'd done our first one had actually been with Dr. Sylvia Thomas, who is over at USF Research now, and she did this wonderful interview. And there's a format to the interviews where they talk, the individuals that are being interviewed by the students will talk about their career, what got them interested in it. Fields of study, academic pathways, internships, and things like that. It'd be so cool to be able to have these standalone videos in our library, and then a link to our, Scoutlier folder or whatever that has the companion materials that goes to it, so teachers can use these videos in a class, right, to talk about how biomedical engineering or any of these things. But now it's very personal. It's not just you're getting to hear from these different individuals.
I don't know about you, but I remember sitting in a classroom as a middle school teenager. I might not have been the nicest middle school child. I can't imagine. Teens are always awesome. I taught middle school for years and I loved them, but I was snarky just like they are. And I love that they're snarky sometimes. But I remember sitting in my geometry class and asking my teacher, how am I ever going to use this? And
I think every child has thought that if they haven't asked it yet.
She's like, well, you might want to put up a fence around your house. At the time, I lived in a trailer park and we weren't allowed to have a fence. So I'm like, I live in a trailer park. We can't have fences, and I didn't want to share. Like literally what she said, shut off in my brain. And that's just, that can happen if you're from poverty or if you just don't have the background that other people have. And so what we love about this is we actually have people talk about their backgrounds. Like in mine, when they interview me, I'm like, I was poor. I came from a trailer house and I got an education and I made a life for myself. And this is what I'm doing with it. And I actually use geometry all the time because I do 3D printing all the time. One of the things I just finished printing is this is one of my favorite, the Impossible Print.
Oh, there you go.
And that's so cool. It's got a ball. You can't get the ball out. You just can't come out either.
Oh, that's fun.
Inside of a cube. And, it was a super fun. It was a lot of geometry. There was a lot of geometry.
I bet.
Getting this to print. But it was super fun, and this was a fun thing that I've done with my with geometry. And then I've planned a lot of, maker spaces.
Sure.
I use geometry all the time. And I wish instead of just saying, well, maybe someday you might, that's why we have Scoutlier, is we want to have people that are the outliers that have done something awesome with whatever content teachers are studying. Like tell them, like, this is how you're going to use it.
One of the other things I had liked too was the data that comes off of it. I think you touched on that briefly, but oh my goodness. So when one of our entrepreneurship program is heavily dependent on engagement from the participants, right? And you can't always gauge that. The folks we're working with are working different jobs and they're, trying to keep up with things, and it can be really challenging. And so, we know we need to know where we need to step in to help, because people won't always ask. And so your metrics on there, and the data points are just so valuable. Really
I'm going to pull up something real quick to show you, because I think I think this is probably a huge value add that is very different about our platform that people don't. If you're not an educator, you don't work with children with the way that they learn,
or anybody with the way that they learn,
Yeah. The reason I say kids is largely because sometimes they're, squirrely and they'll try to pretend that they were doing one thing and they didn't. And, sometimes being able to really.
I don't know. I've had a few adults do that too. So
I do that sometimes. So I'm going to pull this slideshow. There we go. Escape. So I got it ready to go. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen with you because this is actually coming out this summer. Okay. And it is really, really cool. Something that, people just didn't have before, I think. That let me see. Are you seeing Scoutlier or are you seeing an SBIR video? Or multiple
3D printing using Tinkercad.
And are you seeing them? Beautiful. I wanted the slides. Great.
Okay.
So we're actually building in AR inside of Scoutlier. So when a participant opens up a Scoutlier lesson, you can actually follow the way they're learning. So here, they've opened up the assignment. They are doing the instructional portion. Like maybe you're listening to someone at AMROC talking about the robotics you're about to do. Then they opened up the video, that talks to them maybe about how to safely use a new machine. And then they're going to take some pictures showing that they know where the safety features are. They go and look at the collaboration answers. And then maybe they take a video of themselves using a machine correctly. You give them a 95, they're now cleared to use that machine independently. When you can talk to you can look at student number 2 and they didn't pass, right? Like, look, they didn't watch the whole safety video. They looked at other people's answers before taking a picture, so they probably don't know where all the safety features are. And then they didn't do their video. Sorry, you're not cleared yet to use that machine. So this, being as a teacher or as an instructor, to be able to see where a student participant or an adult participant is, how they're learning, is going to be so valuable in our data sets. But how Scoutlier is right now today is already pretty awesome. I'm going to show you. I love 3D printing. It's literally one of my favorite things to do with my students ever. And when you're teaching kids new 3D printing.
And I'm going to stop you there briefly because one of the things I hear from teachers a lot is I have a 3D printer. I have no idea what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So this helps resolve a lot of that.
Okay. If you do not know what to do with your 3D printer, I'm going to show you in the community library where to go pull down an entire curriculum on introduction to 3D printing, and you can get 3D printing in the same day. So this has, look, it's got the videos that teach you how to do Tinkercad. And we actually partnered with Tinkercad on doing this, which was really great that they were like, this is a complete value add. We have the students. It's going to take a second because we're streaming on video too. Normally it would have already popped up.
Yeah.
It's loading a bunch of pictures right now. But what happens in Tinkercad is if you're using Tinkercad Classroom and you're trying to do an instruction for everybody, you have to load each individual's product, and that can take a really long time. Here, you can do it all at one time. So what I like to have my students do is go find a piece of clip art and show me what you think you're going to design for your first lesson. So this is what everybody said they were going to design. And I talked to a couple kids like this one, Alex, you didn't understand. Just try it again. And then I taught them how to take screenshots of what they actually made. And it's awesome. I mean, like you can see right away, here's Anthony's robot, looks pretty close to that other one. Here's Aura's, what she was doing. That's a really awesome yin and yang. You can click on it and get really big pictures.
Nice.
So now it's an instructional material. Have you ever seen a cuter little robot? She's adorable. But I can have the conversations with her about, okay, this robot is awesome, but let's talk about scale. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10 centimeters tall. If I scale this down, this stuff is going to break off. Yeah. I can't print it. So even talking to them, you can design something, but not everything you design can be 3D printed.
Right.
And you have all the data in visual here. When you're looking at, students can actually evaluate how they did, like really talking to them about self-evaluation. You can really look at that, and you get lots of data all in one place. And as when I used to run camps every summer, you would have a student say, well, I already finished. You'd have a camper, but I'm done already. Well, I can go look at the progress report and I can see if they're done or not.
Right.
It tells me right up front where they're at. So it's really pretty valuable in the amount of data it's going to give you. But because you said 3D printing, I'm going to show you where that is. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to my workspace, and I'll actually show you how to edit this right now because the pilot is almost done. So I'm gonna click this. I'm gonna grab that one. This is good to go. My workspace. I want to actually take this, and I'm going to share this to the community library and share. So anything you create from your workspace can actually be shared for free in the Scoutlier, Scoutlier community library. And it took seconds to send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 activities, right? You can send emails with links to that many Google Docs. So the amount of data that is moving so quickly is just powerful.
It's impressive. It really is. And we're really excited, to be looking at different ways to partner. I think it's ideal for a Fab Lab facility and a makerspace.
I'm going to turn the light on because the light is changing in this room.
Got dim, didn't it?
Like, it's dark. Let's see. Or not, maybe not. Okay, no. I just moved into this new office. And I'm like, okay.
There you go. You brightened up in front of your screen a little bit.
I'll just get up a little bit.
But no, I mean, the number of different ways it can be used. I mean, most of the platforms I've seen are very specific to types of templates and different ways you have to enter the information and use it. And I think when you and I talked earlier, it's basically like, a PDF of an outline of a program, and we can go from that. And that's ideal for a lot of the things we do, right? So I love the idea of being able to use it to do training on our equipment. One of the things, we have an intern coming on board from USF, and one of the things he's going to be tasked with doing is creating protocols around our 3D printing lab, right? So he's going to training manuals, use manuals, and things like that, how people get badged or go through the training process to be approved to use them and to help others with it. So having just a whole content library around the Fab Lab would be wonderful, and then drill down for our different programs. And
I think that's really when I built this, it's funny, I was chosen as one of the top STEM teachers in the world at the time by MIT, and I got to go to this camp there, and which is how Scoutlier came about, because at that point I was so overwhelmed with all, like, it was about 2014, 2015. And that's when, we had iPads in the classroom, Chromebooks in the classroom. You had like 50 billion apps, and some apps worked on iPads and some apps worked on Chromebooks. And robots were coming out like every day, and 3D printers were coming in, and like people were like, here, do this in your class, here, do this in your class, here, do this in your class. And I was like, I started having panic attacks like on a regular basis. It was too much that I wanted to do, but I just couldn't do it. And so when I got to go to MIT and we started talking about it, he's like, well, why? And I was like, because kids get so excited that they want to do it now, but everybody's at a different pace. Mm-hmm. I need a way that they can pace themselves independently. And I'm like, and I don't have 27 iPads in my classroom. I got 6 iPads. I've got 8 Chromebooks. I've got 5 cell phones. So when we built Scoutlier, we wanted it to work on any platform. And the funny thing is we actually figured out it'll work on an Xbox 360 with a Kinect camera.
Oh my gosh, really?
like there is no reason for your child to say that they could not do their homework.
I couldn't get in my lesson. Yeah.
They could have done their homework.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really fantastic. So, when we're looking at this, and we talked about cost, right, and how you help with funding, with a lot of the grants. What are some ways maybe that there's for corporations to be involved, or for at a higher level for corporate training or corporate involvement or sponsorships?
Oh, 100%. So one of the things that we do is through the Catalyze Challenge, we can highlight 4 big industries here in Tampa. And what we're doing is trying to prove that as a method that really provides a way for students to understand that there's careers here and apprenticeships. And so what we're hoping will happen is that industry leaders will want to come in and sponsor one of these challenges. The challenges, depending on how advanced they are, can start as low as $10,000 and get as high. Like right now, we're doing a huge challenge with the Office of Naval Warfare in Panama City, and that's an $80,000 challenge. But that challenge, they're building a whole entire curriculum around underwater robotics. Other challenges are super small, and they're only like a 1 or 2 day challenge. So we can do those challenges for $8,000, $10,000. And we work with nonprofits to come together, like a nonprofit and a business that are doing the same thing. We'll put them together. The biggest thing is just getting people to realize that hands-on learning and experiential learning has really lost a lot of its foothold in schools since the COVID shutdown happened, and we've got teachers really overwhelmed. This is a solution for them. And it's a way for business industries to say, hey, I really need my students, the students coming out of these K-12 programs to have these skills. It's kind of shocking. I was watching a video yesterday, and they were talking, it was a video that was from 6 years ago, only 6 years ago. And they were talking about 14 years ago, we were number 2 in the world in creating engineers. Mm-hmm. 6 years ago, we were number 17.
Oops. Yeah.
Today, we're not even in the top 25.
Wow. That's a big drop.
We are falling farther and farther behind because we worry too much about kids just passing a standardized test. And what we've been doing with our research is actually working with educational researchers to prove that if you do hands-on learning and you embed those standardized content in there, they will actually do much better on the standardized testing.
And COVID hasn't helped, right? COVID the last 2 years where everybody's been out of the classroom and away from shops and not being able to do these things, or it's all gone remote. And you don't have the benefit of the one-on-one with mentors and hands-on experiences.
But with Scoutlier and corporate investment, we can actually bring mentors back to the classroom, even though the mentor can't physically come in the classroom. Mm-hmm. We're talking with a couple of people right now here in Tampa that they're like, well, I'd love to be in classrooms more often, but I don't have the bandwidth. And I'm like, awesome. So why don't we create one activity based off what you would do if you were going into the classroom? And now when a school calls and says, hey, can you come in and talk about this great program you do in our community? And you have to say no, you still have a solution to give them. Ma'am, I'm really sorry, I can't come in, but here's a full hands-on activity. Here's the videos of us doing it, and you can run this, and it'll be almost like I'm there.
Yeah, and it's a complete. It's not like And I love the. I can't think of the name now. The training videos and stuff. It's not those kind of things, but it's got a more personal, interactive quality to it. That's really, really nice. So
for sure.
I like that. No, that's fantastic. I think this is terrific. Is there anything that we didn't chat about or go over here? We went all over the place. It's so far ranging and exciting.
I'm really excited to support AMROC. I was there when you had your first open house weekend.
4 years ago, 3 years ago.
I walked in and I was doing I did it then. And then the next year I started coaching FIRST Robotics.
Mm-hmm.
And I really depended on the resources that came out of AMROC and the professional development I got to do with you guys. And then when we shut down for COVID, I was like, man, I hope that AMROC makes it through to the other side. And so I'm so excited that you're literally making it through to the other side.
We really are. Yeah.
To an even bigger spot that I think is going to be such a great fit for you. And I'm so excited to partner on.
And we've talked about scaling, right? That that AMROC is important, but it's only one space.
Yeah.
Right? And to have the real impact that something like this can have, there need to be many AMROCs.
Yeah. And that's
in many areas. And having a platform like Scoutlier, where we can put this content on there and other spaces can open up and draw from the institutional knowledge that's started here. That just helps, right? Because you're not going into it blind if you're starting another space or something.
And I think we were actually talking about this in our meeting recently. AMROC is actually very different from most Fab Labs. What I've seen with the Fab Labs that I've been through, there's two flavors. You've got a kid Fab Lab and an adult Fab Lab. And they kind of don't really cross-pollinate well.
Yeah.
But what I love about AMROC is you are a multi-generational place.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to, with Scoutlier, show that so that these resources that exist out in the world that are really designed for adults maybe get more comfortable to open their doors to students, because these programs, unfortunately, are getting less and less available in our schools. And we can do more and actually solve the problem of kids having more hands-on if people
I just posted a piece yesterday, I guess the other day, when we were here, and we were actually celebrating. We have a USF grad student, biomedical engineer, he's been coaching our VEX IQ elementary school kids. So we came up with an agreement where his VEX U team from USF could meet here in exchange for teaching the VEX IQ kids. So here's this college student teaching these elementary school kids. Guys are born instructor, beautiful. Kids had a great time. We were giving him a going away party and celebrating him the other day while he was here, and the kids were playing with their robots and we're all talking. A high school student was here working on a 3D print for a school project. He's on our FTC team, but he had a school project he was doing. The little kids saw him working on the 3D printer. They made their own little personal field trip over to him and said, "What are you doing?" And so Akila starts explaining to them about the 3D printing. And the nice thing here is that nobody has any expectations of everything is age appropriate, right? It can be delivered in an age appropriate fashion.
I'm listening.
Right?
I'm just telling you anymore.
Yeah, it's getting dark over there. But yeah, so when we're talking to students about, what can they learn and what is it possible for them to do, we don't say, well, this isn't age appropriate for them. This isn't something that's only for third graders, and this isn't something that's only for high schoolers. You're good. I came back out of solo too soon. Sorry about that.
It's a heavy lamp. And I was trying to turn the light just right, and I'm like, it's gonna fall.
You're good. But yeah, so we don't say that this is only for third graders, or this is only for high schoolers, right? Everything can be explained in some way to get their interest.
It's funny. That's how Scoutlier actually all came together. Is when I was living in Mashpee, Massachusetts, up on Cape Cod, and they had built a maker space in the high school for juniors and seniors. For 10 kids using it. Wow. It's $180,000 space. And I'm like, your elementary school kids would love this, and it would spike. So it would be such a bigger investment if you could just start younger. And people are like, you can't get little kids doing 3D printing and laser cutting. And I'm like, yeah, you can. Watch it. I'm going to show you. Yeah. I teach. It's funny. I've got my soldering iron here. And is the first thing I learned after I learned 3D printing was how to solder. And I cannot tell you how many birthday parties I've done teaching second graders how to do doodle bots. And they actually sit there and solder it all themselves and solder circuit stuff. And I feel like if we create these lesson activities and we've got videos showing someone how to get a younger kid doing these hands-on engineering programs, we can blow it up. We can really just make engineering so much easier for people to bring in. And maybe we can make, like, AMROC can be like a foundation where other programs replicate what you're doing. So I'm really excited to partner with
We'd
you.
enjoy that.
That'd be awesome, right?
Yeah, it would. And again, this is just, such an exciting opportunity. We're excited to be working with you. We love how it complements, this whole idea of everybody can learn. Everybody needs a safe space and access to the knowledge base that is best for them to learn and to inspire curiosity and make it cool to be curious. And in a lot of places that hasn't been the case, right? It's I still hear families that come by here and say this place is for smart kids, and it's like, really, your kids look smart to me, you look smart to me. We've culturally given people the wrong idea in a lot of places and in a lot of ways, and this shouldn't feel like something that's out of reach for people at all. And
I remember when I first started teaching robotics, they told me, well, don't worry, because you'll only have level 4 students in your class. And I was like, well, what a waste. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, your students that may struggle with math and reading, they struggle because there's no prize at the end of the rainbow. But when you teach a kid, when you can finish reading these directions, you get to build this thing that then you take home. Kids are like, I'm gonna figure out how to read that. I'm gonna figure out how to do that because I want to make something, and that gives them that impetus for change. And
exactly. So I'm excited about this. This is awesome. Thank you so much for your time tonight. This has been a great. I enjoyed learning more about Scoutlier, and this is like, you went over it with me the other day, and it was fun to see it, more in depth here. I hope others will take a look at the video later on. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and it'll be on archived with our First Friday videos. I know we'll be seeing more of you, and we'll be doing some cool projects together. I'm super excited about it. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, can they reach you? How can they reach you? Through Scoutlier?
You can go on Scoutlier. You can actually, my first name is Brandy, Y, at acern.com. Acern means learning, how to tell someone is learning. But acern.com is my work email. And so you are AECERN.com. When we originally built the platform, we called it Acern Learning, and it was acern.com, and nobody could spell Acern. So we made up Scoutlier. And I'm like, well, I'm not really sure that Scoutlier makes it any better, but we're scouting for the outliers, and we're excited that we found you because you're an outlier. And we want to help, scale your program because it's great.
And it's cool to be an outlier. So, we're gonna all band together and make some real cool change in Tampa Bay and beyond. So again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for you.
Hang out a little bit after we close out the show. And thank you to those who watched and to those who will watch. And we will catch you first week in April for our first Friday at the Fab Lab, maybe at our new location, maybe close to our new location. I don't know. We'll find out. But thank you again, and we will see you all soon.